Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our reading is Maj Mahalla Panjwa. Lal Gopal Dayal Rangile, Gher Gambhir Beyant Govinde, Uchi Atha Beyant Swami, Simar Simar Hau Jiva Jiyo, Dukh Panjan Nidan Yamole, Nirbhav Nirvair Yatha Atole, Akal Murat Juni Sambho, Man Simrat Thanda Thiva Jiyo, Sada Sangi Har Rang Gopala, Uch Neech Kare Pratapala, Naam Rasayan Man Tripatayan, Gurmukh Amrit Pima Jiyo, Dukh Sukh Pyare Tudd Te Ai, Is Mat Guru Te Pai, Nanak Ki Tar Tu Hai Thakur, Har Rang Par Parima Jiyo. Now in this passage, what we sense is Guru Arjan's expression of his own personal testimony to his experience of the mystical. And so we find him invoking the self with various qualifiers like Lal, Gopal, Dayal, Rangile. Now these are all metaphors for the protector. Gopal, Lal, Govinde. These are terms traditionally used for the cowherd Krishna, but in Gurmat used as metaphors for the Supreme Self. My beloved protector, Guru Arjan is saying, you are compassionate and playful. Gopal Dayal Rangile. Notice Rangile, an element of playfulness, which suggests that we ought not to take ourselves and this game too seriously. You are the deeply rooted and overpowering master of the infinite expanse. Gaher Gambhir Beyant Govinde. You are supreme and unfathomable, my master. I am alive only when you are in my presence. Uch Atha Beyant Swami, Simar Simar Hau Jiva Jiyo. Jiva, I am alive only when I have you in my recollection, which is another way of saying, when you are in my presence. You are the destroyer of suffering, Dukh Panjan, and you're also the treasure house of invaluable virtues, Nidhan Amole. And then, of course, here, Nirbhav Nirvair Atha Athole, we know from the Mool Mantra, we usually translate Nirbhav Nirvair as one having no fear or malice. But I'd like to suggest that we ought to think of these terms as being a little broader than just no fear. Obviously, no fear because there is no opposition, but it also means that there are no internal contradictions and there is spontaneity as a result. Nirvair, harmony. So this self is harmonious, it's spontaneous, and of course it's unfathomable and beyond measure. Atha is unfathomable. Atole, something that cannot be measured. So you have no fear, you're spontaneous, you have no malice, you're harmonious, you're unfathomable, and you're beyond measure. And then again, unborn and self-illumined. Nirbhav Nirvair Atha Atole Akal Murat Ajuni Sambhav. Sambhav is one that is self-illumined, that has the capacity to will itself into existence as the Creator has. And it is also Akal and Murat at the same time, which sometimes might appear to be a contradiction, but isn't really. What is meant here is that you're timeless and you're also the cosmic form. That the cosmos is also timeless. It's beyond time, eternal. And so the Guru says, Simrat thanda thime jiyo. Man simrat thanda thime jiyo. My mind is tranquil when I presence you. Again, a reiteration of what was said in the previous section. I'm alive only when you are in my presence. And then again, being alive in the spiritual sense means being tranquil. And so here, my mind is tranquil when I presence you. And don't forget, Sada Sangi Har Rang Gopala. You are my constant companion in every state and condition. Har Rang. Notice how the same word Rang Rangila has been used with different nuances. In the first section, it was playful. Here, Har Rang can also mean in all circumstance. And Uch Neech Kare Pratapalla. Uch Neech means the one above and the one below, and usually refers to the self. But here we can extend the meaning to understand this to say that you are my constant companion in every state and condition that I find myself in. And you nurture the high and the low. You make no distinction. You do not discriminate. And then the important line here, Naam Rasayan. Naam, self-knowledge. That is the elixir. Rasayan comes from chemistry. These are elements and substances that transform, with which alchemy is practiced. So self-knowledge is that transforming elixir. It is that fount of eternal wisdom, Amrit. Amrit meaning, of course, immortal, eternal. That eternal wisdom from which the Guru says, I drink. Naam rasayan manatriptayan gurmukh amrita piyana jiyo. So when you are Guru-facing, guided by the Guru, what happens is you drink deep at the fount of self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is the elixir that you are given. And then what happens is you receive this from the Guru. A-sabad Guru te pai. What is that sabad that you get, or that wisdom after you have drunk the elixir? The sabad is that you are indeed Nanak's support in all circumstances. Nanak ka tar tu hai thakar. Har rang par paravan parivan jiyo. In other words, here again, the Guru is using the metaphor of crossing the ocean of life. If you recall, we had spoken about it as being the ocean of fear, because that is our condition, essentially, as humans, to have the sword of Damocles hanging over our head, fear of death. So once you drink of self-knowledge, you see the truth of your existence. And once you understand that, you have, in effect, crossed over to the other bank, to the far bank. So that's par parivan jiyo. It is all in the consciousness. So we notice here that Guru Arjan Ji has used various terms to describe the self as the master and sustainer. He's used Gopal, Govind, Thakur, Swami, all these from existing traditions. Gopal, Gosai being used for Govind, being used for Krishna. Swami, Thakur from the tantric traditions, monastic traditions. But nonetheless, in Gurbani, all of these terms are a metaphor for the Supreme Being, not to be confused with anything else. And this passage also is an expression of Guru Arjan's ecstatic movement in the mind, a heightened awareness where he sees, quote unquote, and feels in his awakened consciousness, the presence of the self, Hazar Nazarta. And because the self is not matter but consciousness, it cannot be understood. It cannot be seen or felt with the body-mind apparatus. We require an awakening of a different kind of awareness that can only be described as intuitive awareness, because our ordinary day-to-day awareness becomes conditioned over time. And what happens then is that we see and hear what is most familiar, and we lose our capacity to actually see with fresh eyes, new perspectives. We lose sight of the source from which we are actually experiencing things. And Gurbani then is the tool that teaches us how to awaken this new awareness within us. With those thoughts, until the next time, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.